Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mastering Music. My name is Petronella Torin, and I'd like to thank you all for listening to our podcast. I have great news for all the cello lovers out there. I will be releasing an exclusive interview series from Celloakademie Rüsselsheim, which is a cello festival in Germany, where hundreds of cellists gather every year for masterclasses, concerts and music fairs. It is pretty much cello heaven. I have interviewed the festival leader, Matthias Truck, and some of the fantastic professors like Jens-Peter Mainz, Danjulu Isizaka, and Stefan Baum, and 7 other cello legends. Don't miss this and keep updated by signing in to the Mastering Music newsletter. And you can do this at www.masteringmusic.com, and then you will get all the greatest tips and upcoming episodes right down to your mailbox. Today's episode is an amazing power woman called Fenna Ograjensek. She's an opera singer and a music producer. She studied in Maastricht in the Netherlands and in New York at the Julliard School of Music. She has been singing in Carnegie Hall, the Berliner Philharmonie and the Concertgebouw all the way back to Maastricht. She has an amazing foundation called Musik Young for Old that makes music students play concerts for the older generations. Musik Young for Old has over 500 concerts every year. That's a lot of concerts, and that's just what the foundation does. Then she also works in an opera company called Opera Compact, which is actual with a project called I Hate Opera. She's also playing the part of Donna Elvira in the new set by Sybrand van der Werf's version of Don Giovanni that will have premiere in 2020. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I do. It's filled with great advice and tips on how to get concerts and how to present yourself as an artist so that just you get booked for their job that you like. I would like to thank our partners, a Swedish cellist with takeaway concerts. And what is a takeaway concert, you wonder? A takeaway concert is a concert where you can order a concert to your home or any other location. Instead of takeaway food, you are feeding your ears with music. And it's presented by a Swedish cellist. The other partner is Student Radio Maastricht and Music for You Maastricht, which is a music school that tailors a program just for you. So anything you want to learn with music, they can help you with that. And they also like to teach the whole package of being a musician, like how to get concert, how to not be nervous on stage. So they do a lot of mental training, ergonomy, if you want to record something for a masterclass or anything related to music. They are the ones that you can turn to and they will help you. Now let's kickstart this episode with a little piece of music from Fenna's amazing repertoire. Ladies and gentlemen, I present for you Fenna Ograjensek. Welcome to Master in Music, and today we have Fenna
Ograjensek
with us. Wow, welcome Fenna.
Thank you.
It's a big honor. I've been looking forward to this so much.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy to be here, and I'm really excited because I think it's a great thing that you share stories of fellow musicians with other musicians.
Yes, great. I've been so excited to meet you because I've been in contact with you for a lot of years without actually seeing you.
Yes, I have that with a lot of students at the conservatory. Some people I saw never, and I was in touch with for 7 years or something.
So we call Fenna the fairy godmother or the Fenna ghost.
Yeah, I love it.
Suddenly just come and give us concerts.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's not just one concert, it's like so many concerts. Like, how many concerts do you give us every month? Do you know?
Well, per month is a little bit difficult, but per year it's almost 500 concerts a year we do with our foundation. Usually when I get to know a new ensemble or a new musician, I'm always a little bit hesitant because I have to try it out first, because since I don't visit all of the concerts, I cannot,
That would be a full-time job.
Oh my god, I wouldn't have a life anymore.
But Fenna group is...
I send out an ensemble to a couple of concerts, and then I hear back from the locations how it was, and I hear from our volunteers how it was, and when I hear it's positive, then I'm like, okay, let's send them out again. But, sometimes, for instance, you play the cello, that's not something that I have a lot. So I can send you also a lot to concerts. But if I have 20 flute-guitar duos, it's harder because I cannot send the flute and the guitar every time. So that also counts. It's not always a personal thing.
And this is something you do with a foundation called For Young and Old in English, but Stichting Young for Old.
Muziek Jong voor Oud, Music Young for Old, basically.
And you've been doing it for 10 years. It's quite a celebration, I would say.
It's now already the 11th year, actually. Last year was our 10-year anniversary. And it's a foundation that I've had for 11 years together with my father. Because my mother and father were both working in healthcare for the elderly generation. And when my father was getting close to his retirement, he thought, he was also always a guy with 22 ideas per day. And one of the ideas was to give live music to elderly people, because they cannot go to the theater all the time, or it's a big thing to get done, with transportation. People need help going to the bathroom or taking off their coats, and he thought, if you don't bring live music to these elderly homes, then they will never hear live classical music or jazz ever again, and it will only be a CD or a DVD.
I think it's super great. Like, I really love this concept.
Yeah.
Also because I really love old people. I used to work in an elderly home for 7 years every summer and Christmas. So when I saw this opportunity to play for the old, I was like, because they have so much to give, and they gave so much to the society for all their lives, so they really deserve something great.
Yeah, your reaction, I hear it more and more from musicians that they really appreciate playing for this generation. Because when I was in the conservatory, and even when we started 11 years ago, it was a little bit like, oh, you're going to play in a retirement home? Is that what your goal is as a musician, to play? It was looked at as something lesser value.
Wow.
And I totally disagree. And I think it also changed in the course of time. I think it's very important to go for your artistic goals. Maybe you want to play in the Concertgebouw, maybe you want to play with the Berliner Philharmoniker. It's great, but you should also look around you and see where you live and what society is around you and what you can mean as a musician for that society. That's a really big lesson I learned when I was in school.
So maybe to look where you are needed as a musician.
Yes, and also to show society that they need musicians and that they need culture. If you only play for yourself and only, especially in times when there's an economic crisis, and culture is the first thing to be cut. And I think you have to show people around you why it's so important that we have music. And if you show it by playing in a retirement home where people can enjoy music with their mother or father who has dementia and feel like, hey, I can spend this time with my mother and father, even though we cannot speak anymore to each other, we can share this moment and really feel this, then you show people that music is important in a totally different way than when you play a symphony, which is also very important, but maybe for some people it's not so easy to see that that's important as well.
Yeah, I agree, and it's also like with the brain and old people, they can, like my experience is that when I play a song for them that they know, people who is really like lost in their dementia or Alzheimer's, they can come back.
Yes.
And they know the text of this song, but they don't know the names of their children.
Yes, it's amazing because music is in one of our earliest parts of our brain, so it's everything we put in there musically, it will still be there. And also people with dementia will recognize speed or high notes, low notes, and it's a lot of research is being done at the moment because a lot of people suffer from this disease, and it's so dark to say, but either you die of cancer or you will get dementia and then you die.
Yeah.
So it's getting more and more important for everybody to do something with that, and music is a big one.
I saw an article where they said that it's very rare that musicians get dementia or Alzheimer's. Like Alzheimer's is something that you have genetic, but the dementia, there was not a lot. They never found a conductor, for example, with with dementia. So in one way we could cure dementia. If we play for the people with dementia, we could cure dementia, because if we play for people with it, we can cure ourselves with the music.
With Muziek Jong voor Oud, we're doing research now for 3 years, because my main goal is, I don't have the money to put a research project like that on, but I want to show that if you would listen to a classical concert every week or every night, then you wouldn't need a pill or something. That's my dream. And what you just say, I really believe in it, that it can be such a medicine, literally, for people. And imagine what a difference it would be in healthcare costs also, if we could at least not cure it, but have a benefit in that way.
So maybe there is someone out there with some foundation who wants to support this project. We can always lay out a little hint that we are here.
But what you just said about musicians not having dementia, that is also a very interesting topic, I think, for a research project.
Yeah, and it's also like they did like a lot of TED Talks about how music is like a workout for the brain. It really activates all the brain, and it's really like scientific proven.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people don't use it. Come on, science. Come on, society.
I think in the Netherlands the problem is that we are a country of trade, not traitors, but traders.
Yeah.
And everything we sell has to give us money in our hand.
Yeah.
And it is our job as musicians and people in culture to show that we can profit from music and culture, but it's not always the money straight into the hand.
Yeah.
This
is a sustainable in one way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also with music therapy, I met a music therapist in Maastricht actually, and it's really amazing how much you can discover with music therapy. And I also discovered myself during my studies that my problems in my cello playing was actually problems that I have in my personality.
Oh,
so in order
to yes, well, that's as a musician, I really believe that you have to totally show yourself as a person, and that's the only thing you can do. You can only share yourself on the stage, and that's a big one because now I'm almost 40, so it's so different than when you're 20 or 30. You're thinking about at least I was, this person tells you have to play it like that person tells you have to do this, and you cannot play this repertoire and you have to do that. And of course it's really important because there are a lot of teachers who can help you find your way, but in the end I really believe it. The only thing you can do is be yourself and be confident about what you do. And there are always going to be people who don't like it and people who do like it. And that's just that.
Yeah.
It's simple as that, basically, for me.
So you started this 11 years ago,
Yeah.
and it was because your parents like inspired you
Yeah.
to do. So in the beginning, was it only you doing it, and then you grew to more ensembles?
No, I never sang for the foundation because I just finished actually my life in the States. I studied there and I worked there for a couple of years, and I was 26 and I just decided to 26, 27, just decided to come back to Europe to go on with my life here, basically base myself in Europe. As a singer. And then my father had this idea and he said, you know, it's really supposed to be for young talented people at the conservatory and elderly people. And I was past the stage of, you know, young talented people at the conservatory, and I didn't want people to be confused. I didn't want them to think, oh, Fenna's gonna come and sing for us every time. So when I started, I really kept it on the down low, that I was organizing everything. It was more my father being the face of the foundation, and I did all the organizing behind the scenes.
Which is a lot. So
yeah, it's a lot. But right away we had some ensembles from the conservatory who wanted to do it, and it's always been mouth to mouth. You know, I never really, sometimes there was a poster at the conservatory or there was something on Facebook, but usually it was always people telling other people that there are concerts, Fenna concerts.
Yeah.
And
then the Fenna Ferry comes.
Yes. And after a year of 5, 6, as a singer, I really tried to base my career out of Limburg. Also because I have a family here, and I wanted the life here and mean something for the cultural life here. And after a year of 5 or 6, a good friend of mine said, you know, you have to be way more the face of this foundation because it can benefit the foundation. And I thought about it because in the beginning I didn't do it because I didn't want to confuse people that I was coming to sing. And then after a while I thought my friend was right, and I said, I can let people know about my foundation because of the network I had built as a singer, and it's true. Now people know that this foundation belongs, is a big word, to me. This way more people know about it.
Yeah. And right now, how many musicians do you have? Do you know?
It's always about 15 to 20 ensembles who play, and some ensembles they stay for the course of their studies, and some, you know, they play a couple of concerts and then they go away, and some people graduate and they stay for a little while and then they go away. And new ensembles come. It's always like that.
I saw your webpage because you have one page for yourself and one for young and old. But I really like it. It's with the videos, you can listen to ensembles, and you have classical, jazz. And
yes, actually my own website, I'm working with a designer now to change it a little bit, because, you know, you have to look at yourself every 5 to 10 years and then you see, some things have kind of changed, or...
It's also the design and web design goes so fast.
Yes,
so to keep up
God.
With the...
Yeah, and then now I'm also thinking, you know, your website, it just has to be clear, and a website is a thing that stays kind of the same. Yeah. And then after 5 years you change it again, and all the things that change every day you just put on, well, I do on Facebook or whatever. And Muziek Jong voor Oud site, that's actually always a thing that I'm like, the website, and I'm glad you like it, but I wish I had somebody who would do it, you know, who would take care of the website, because we all have to do it ourselves.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe we can find some student of web design or something.
Yes, if somebody wants to do it, please help me.
we are crying out.
Yes, always use volunteers for anything.
Yeah, it's really... But is www.youngforold, or what is the webpage?
Muziekjongvoorouд.nl.
Okay, so then you can find the webpage.
Yeah.
And it's mostly like organizations for older, like homes. But it's also sometimes, like today, I did a Fenna concert today.
Yeah, where did you go?
UMC Hospital.
Oh yes, yeah. We have a concert there every week.
Yeah.
Always a different day of the week, and it's actually really great. because the hospital is also a special place, because we talked with the hospital about concerts for the people who have to stay there, who are ill. But that's a difficult one, because imagine you lie with 5 people in a room and you would love to hear it, and somebody else would think, oh my God, please stop, you drive me nuts. So this is a way that we have the concerts in the hall, so people can choose to come, or maybe you just had a conversation with a doctor and it was a difficult conversation. You hear the music, you can just zone out for a couple of minutes and go on. And so I really love this with the hospital.
I had some doctors coming and eating a sandwich.
Yes,
I think they are regulars to this concert.
Oh, great! Yeah, good to hear.
But it's nice, and it's always different people. I think sometimes there's a lot of students there, and today was quite calm, because normally there is a lot of people who try to sign up for donations of organs. So there was a bagel place one time also, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing about Muziek Jongvrouw for the musicians, because you always get into a totally different situation. Totally different houses, different audiences, people reacting differently, and it makes you flexible as a musician, and I think that's good.
Okay, so you go to the hospital. Is there any more places?
Yeah, actually, after a couple of years, we noticed that companies or other healthcare providers, they started to find us for concerts. So we are in healthcare for people with a physical or psychological disability, but also companies who just want some music at their event. And that's a good thing, because we then pay our musicians and they pay a small fee, which we then put back into the foundation, so we can keep the concerts for the elderly people at a lower price.
That's really good.
Yeah, because we're not a foundation who have to make a profit. We just have to make sure we have enough money to keep alive. To be alive. Yeah. So companies can also call you and visit the everybody.
webpage.
We've done everything. We played at events of big companies. We have played at a birthday party of somebody who was 40, like in a room like we are now. Whatever. Yeah, if you want some music or have some special wishes. I remember once at the Bonnefante Museum in Maastricht, they had a Russian exhibition or something, and they asked, do you have some Russian music? I said, I don't know, let me just email. And I sent an email out to all the musicians, and I said, can somebody play Russian music? And there were 2 or 3 who said, yes, please, and they would love to play their own music.
So companies can contact you, or also homes. But I was thinking now, if you're a musician out there who hears you and say, oh my God, I want to play for Fenna. What should a musician do to be part of?
In our the statuten, we call it, in the guidelines for our foundation, you have to be a musician who studies at the Conservatory of Maastricht. So that's makes it a little bit a smaller group. And we actually always work with duos, some exceptions, but usually duos, because for the people, if they only hear one instrument, it's not enough. They like the variation in sounds. So it's always duos. So if you want to play for us, you have to make a duo with somebody. Email me. Yeah, then it comes to basic things. But basic things seem to be already a big thing for a lot of musicians. You have to have a good photo. I remember, now it's getting better, but still I ask for a photo and people send me a holiday picture. Like, no, that's not the kind of photo I'm looking for.
It's me and my horse.
Yes, no, it's really, I need a picture that I can send out, to people.
In good quality.
Yes, and also biography in English, and also just in proper English. Have somebody read it, not I started play guitar when I was 7. It's not a good biography. It makes you look bad.
So do you have any tips for writing a good biography, maybe?
Have it read, read online, go to websites of professional musicians, see what they wrote in their biography, and don't copy it like it's yours, but look at what are the important things. And when you are still at the conservatory, It doesn't have to be a biography of 10 lines. 5 lines is enough. Just let people know where you're from, what do you play. Some people don't write their instrument in their biography, like we're supposed to know. Tell them what you have done, some highlights, or what your ambition is.
Yeah.
That's enough. And have somebody read it whose first or second language is English.
Yeah.
And then look for a Dutch friend and just ask them to make it in Dutch.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, we're a Dutch foundation. If you have it in Dutch, it just shows you make an effort. It's not necessary, but if somebody does it and I know they're not Dutch, I'm like, wow, that's really nice. Also, it's such a small detail, but I have an opera company also, and we just had people send in information for auditions, and they send me a picture, and then their picture has the title NE7771F. No, just make the name of your photo your name, or make the name of your CV your name, not CV 2017.
It's a small detail that makes it easier for...
Yes, also because when I have to save them on the computer, now I have to change it. And I just don't get it why people don't do it.
That's really good tips. I don't think they think about it.
No, people don't think about it.
I was thinking now, what do I do myself?
Yes, what do I have?
Really valuable information. But it's like you are also educating the musicians in the conservatorium for the future agent, because a future agent would be like, they get 100.
You're already in the lead. You delete it. Yeah, definitely.
Because it's too much effort, so make it easy.
Yes, make it easy for people to like you, and it also makes you look
smart and
better.
Yeah,
like it looks more professional already.
Yeah, and it's always maybe a plus to have a recording somewhere on YouTube.
Yes, recording, YouTube is whatever, but make it easy for people to look who you are.
Yeah,
click on the photo, click on the recording, and really have somebody when you make your little info for an agent or a programmer at a theater. Have somebody else look at it who doesn't know anything about music maybe, and ask them, if you see this, what do you think? Tell me out loud, what do you see? And then if things are not clear, then you can hear that and think, I could change this.
Correct it, That's really good information. So they have, normally your concert is around 1 hour.
Yes.
Or sometimes a little bit more, but do you have any good tips for making a good program in music?
Yes.
I thought so.
You always have to think about who you're playing for. That's number one. And first I thought playing for elderly people is different than playing for other people, but it's really not. Only if you're invited by... No, even if you're invited by a theater to make your solo recital, it would not be your exam program because, of the conservative. Because it's your exam is to show what skills you have and a variety in that. But a concert program, it has to have a flow. You have to start, you have to go somewhere, and the difference for elderly people, especially the ones now living in the homes, pieces should not be 10 minutes long. 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Make sure that you have fast pieces, slow pieces. If you play 3 slow pieces in a row, everybody will be asleep. It can be nice, but it's also good to activate people. And have some songs that people recognize, because they love it. And it will make them love the pieces that they not know also. They will say, you know what, this song, I've known it for years and I love it. But that next piece that she played, I didn't know it, but I actually liked it too. Mm-hmm. But if you play 6 pieces in a row that they don't know, the attention will go. And a little bit different way, it's the same for all audiences. Yeah. If I make for instance, a couple of weeks ago, I did a concert with a pianist and a violinist, and I did some Schumann and Schubert songs. If you would ask the teachers at the conservatory, they would say, well, it's all the famous songs. Mm. Yes, it's true, but it's for us the famous songs. Most people who came to the concert, they have never heard Der Nussbaum live, and they never heard of it. we heard of it as singers because we've all sung it. But yeah, and also communicate with your audience.
Yeah.
That's such a big thing. I can talk with my audience and guide them through a piece that they do not know, and not by telling them that the composer was born then and he wrote 20 million pieces, but I try to make a personal connection that I have with the piece, or I tell something about the composer that I think is interesting. But you have to find your own style. Maybe you do like to tell some really specific things about a composer. It's just the way you connect with the people that makes it important, and then they will go with you.
And there are so many funny stories about composers. Sometimes I wonder if half of them are true, but I had a cello teacher once. He was always saying that all the composers was living close to him because he lived in Copenhagen in Denmark.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Rachmaninoff, he was living here in the house next. And I was like, no, not all of the composers cannot have been living next to you. And he always got very bad.
I remember one of the concerts for Muziek Jong Vrouw. The ensemble played the Ave Maria by Bach-Gounod, and you really don't have to explain it because they know it. But the volunteer, he was telling a story about how years ago he went to the Bonbonnière in Maastricht, and there were still operas being played, and he went to see Faust by Gounod, and it was such a great evening. And he told this whole story about him going to the Bonbonnière, and then he said, well, we're not going to listen to anything of Faust, but we're going to listen to the Ave Maria, for which Gounod wrote the melody. Have fun. So it was something completely different, but it was just a nice story, and people,
something
they were
to trick
with
their
it.
imagination.
Yeah.
But also sometimes you have some people who read poems.
Poems, yeah.
It's like an organization you work with, or
not really. In the beginning, we were in touch with. It was called a writers' cafe, and some of them, when they are at the writers' cafe, they read their own poetry, and we had the idea it would be nice if they would read their poetry during the concerts. This also went from mouth to other people, and maybe they have a friend and they connect us to them again, and we really ask them to read poetry that has a connection with our audiences. So a lot of the times it can be about our region where we live in, or just things in general. In the end, I think it doesn't matter if you're old or young. You just connect on certain subjects, and that's what they do. It shouldn't be poetry that's totally
But they're very nice. I did one concert with a poet called Han.
Yes.
She even wrote me one poem
about nice.
The Pingstenbloemen. It's really sweet, but I like it because it also inspires me when I play, and then we always coordinate so we can have a little bit. But it's also because most of if I do some Swedish songs, there is always about flowers because there's a big tradition about music and flowers, and it's because we put all the symbolics in the flowers because in Sweden it's not polite to be direct. So if you write a song about love making or sex or anything else, we always disguise this in the flower. So we don't say we slept together, we say he took my rose or something
like in German poetry.
Yeah,
also.
exactly.
Yes, very nice.
It's really I love the combination a lot.
Yes, and I like it as well to have these crossovers a little bit. It's very I think it's also very hip in the Netherlands to have crossovers. If you don't do a crossover, it's almost not good enough anymore, which I don't agree with either. But if you can get inspired by people, it's always good.
I also believe that the Dutch people are very good at speaking up and reading things. I've been playing in some churches around here, and they always read up things from the Bible, and it's normal people with normal jobs, and they are so good at presenting the text. So I'm so impressed. I'm like, wow, because in Sweden they would be like, no, not me.
Oh yeah,
no, I cannot do it. No.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
They are like, okay, I'm gonna speak up, and they stand up and they do it well, and I'm really impressed. They have some guts. But I also heard that you have a show called I Hate Music, so
yes,
I'm a bit concerned.
Yeah, that's something completely different. Yeah, well, since a couple of months, together with a director, a friend of mine, Sybrand van der Werf, we have our own opera company, Opera Compact, and it's an opera company where we want to play the big romantic gesture of opera in the smaller halls with maybe smaller ensembles, because not all theaters can invite big opera companies to play there. And we want to, have opera everywhere and for everybody. And now our first production is actually a co-production with Opera Zuid, the opera company based here in Maastricht.
Yeah.
And they were looking for an educational program to go with their premiere A Quiet Place. They're playing it this fall, the Bernstein opera, and it's also Bernstein year. And Opera Compact actually made this production now, and it's based on the kids' song by Leonard Bernstein. The cycle is called I Hate Music, for kids of all ages. Well, children, they have a lot of questions always, like what's behind the sky, why does the grass grow, how much does the earth weigh, the craziest questions. And we have now the show of about 35 minutes, and it's all about asking these questions. There's music of Ives in it, Bernstein, Milhaud, Ravel, and we played it now for a couple of groups of children. And I think the most interesting part of it is that children listen to this music without any thought of listening to classical music. It's just part of the show. And when they go home, I think their parents will ask, what was it about? And they would say, it's about asking questions. There was this girl, she was asking all of these questions. Yes, but what kind of music was it? I don't know, it was just music. And I think that's just great, because classical music is used as a, how do you say it? It's just the music of choice. But it's not, here, this is classical music, go and listen to it. It's just there.
Yeah.
And children are very open to anything. But this way they listen to pretty difficult music of Ives and Milhaud, and they didn't even realize it. And it's a really fun show to do.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm really intrigued of it. So do you play it also for the public, or is it only for the schools?
It's basically for schools. It's a production we can actually play in a school. And that's also a way that children can come in contact with opera in a very easy way. You don't have to bring the whole classroom to the theater. And so no, it's we don't have shows in theaters.
Okay.
Who knows, maybe.
Yet.
Good thinking.
Fishing out there.
Yes.
I was also thinking, do you have any reveal for the future, coming up, or is it secret?
Well, my next season in 2019, I will be doing the carnavalsconcerts, the Vastelavondsconcerten with Philharmonie and Nederland.
Nice.
With Opera Compact, we are doing a festival opera. It's going to be called Ik haat opera, I hate opera, because if you ask 20 people on the street, do you like opera? They would say, no, I don't think so, or I don't like opera. But then on the other hand, when we watch Holland's Got Talent or something, and there's an opera singer, people love it, and I can't believe, those two don't fit. So I think a lot of people do like opera, but they just don't know it. So this production is going to be called Ik haat opera, I hate opera, for everybody who says they hate opera. And we're going to play it on festivals, on the street, anywhere where you will never see an opera. And then my hope is that people will say, I don't like opera, but this I like. And then projects just keep popping up.
I think it's a big, if you go to Liège or Luik, it's always sold out in the opera. It's impossible to get a ticket. I'm like, guys, it's because I wanted to go. Now they have really good deals for students, and wow, it's you have to fight. Really
good.
Put your armbows out. So I think this opera compact could be really big.
I think opera is booming. It will be.
Wow. Who doesn't like this drama? And it's just great.
We believe with opera compact, it has to be opera. In 2020, we're doing Don Giovanni. And if we would be sitting in the hall together next to each other, we would watch the performance. We want to put it on the stage in a way that we both would think, you know what, this woman, it's like she's me. And then I would look at you and I would see, oh my God, she's thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
So we don't want opera with leather pants and tits out, you know. That's really not the kind of opera I want to see, sorry.
Oh no!
But it has to be of this day and age.
Yeah.
It has to be modern, but not, oh, now we're going to be really modern.
Yeah, well, that sounds really intriguing. But I know also that you've been to the big stages. Like I read your CV, and we can start from where you studied. Like you started here to study.
Yes.
In Maastricht.
Mm-hmm.
How was it? Back in the days.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you know this, but back in the day, I wanted to be a classical saxophone player.
Wow.
See, you didn't know it. Haha.
Secret.
Yes. No, actually, since I was 8 years old, I started to play soprano saxophone. And I wanted to be a saxophone player. So I went to the preschool here in Maastricht. And that's what I wanted to do. My mind was set. But when I look back, I did sing in the children's choir and I did sing in our high school musical, you know. But I was so set on being a saxophone player that my option B was never something else at the conservatory, you know. And then I wanted to be a writer or an archaeologist or something like that. But we always sang and I really loved it. And one night there was a voice teacher with one of her students there, and she loved my playing and she saw that I was having fun singing in the choir. And she said later she was just interested in teaching me. And she asked me, do you want to have singing lessons? I said, sure, why not? You know, I'd love to sing. And that's when I started my singing lessons with her. She was one of the main teachers then. You know, I loved to sing, but it was really very difficult because I had no idea how to use my voice. Yeah. And so the first couple of years, I was still in preschool, were really difficult because since I was playing already for 10 years, I had a lot of musical baggage and a lot to give musically, but I had no technical skills, so I couldn't. I had to sing the most easy songs when I wanted to sing Lieder eines fahrenden Gesellen by Mahler, you know, but I just couldn't.
The same problem is.
Yeah, and when I started the conservatory, I was the saxophone player who also sang, and later on it switched into the singer who also played the saxophone.
But you had some like you get a very good like when you sing you have to use your stomach, and you also have to use your air and stuff when you play the saxophone, so it's a little bit.
It's similar because my saxophone player, he always said, Fenna, just sing, you know, just sing, and my singing teacher said, Fenna, just play the saxophone. And I said, I don't know how to do that, you know. It's all the problems that students have. I really had them, and I at one point in my third year or something, I got really insecure also with the singing because all of a sudden you start to realize, you know, this is real now, and I really wanted it at some point, you know, when I started to switch a little bit in my head. I wanted to be a singer, but then it had to be good, and that made me really insecure. And I remember being on stage also later on very nervous and feeling horribly because it affects your singing right away. So I was really mortified sometimes on stage because I sang horrible, and you know, it wasn't that horrible, but it was not good. It was really bad sometimes. And it was a big struggle. And
how did you get out of it? Like, do you have any tricks for handling nervosity? And
I think you just have to keep doing it. And of course, getting comfortable with your technique. The better you get, the more you can. If you get nervous, I would think, you know what, breathe, stick to your resonance. Where do you put your voice, and just try to sing really technically, even if your mind is going somewhere else. And also, I remember sitting in dressing rooms sometimes, looking in the mirror and just telling myself, "You can do this. You're now going to sing
best
good,
concert.
yes. And I would just imagine being some famous opera singer. I would just pretend to be a singer.
It's really good advice.
Yeah, because I never, there were people who said, oh, you can just take something to be calm or whatever. Yeah, I didn't believe in that for me, because I thought if I start doing this, I will not get to the core of the problem. And I must say, at some point, maybe it's also just getting older, it's so funny because if you would ask people if I was the nervous type, I think people would never think that I was, because in general I'm a confident person, and I do believe that I always believed in that I could do it. It would just overwhelm me at some point. I would feel it again. At some point, what I said earlier on, I would just be like, this is it. This is what I do. And I think it also has to do with age. I have 2 children now. I remember when I was pregnant, I thought, what? I'm having a baby. I can sing a song, please, And if, in a concert I would forget a word or I would miss something. Yeah, you know what? I sang 3,000 words correctly. Yeah. If one is wrong, deal with it.
You started to accept yourself and accept to be good enough, that you are good enough.
Yes.
So that's really good advice as well. So picture yourself that you're a famous opera singer and think that you're good enough and tell yourself in the mirror that you can do this. Yeah. And rely on your technique.
Yes, if you lose the confidence, go back to that, because if you are comfortable with your technique, you can trust your technique also. Yeah, just focus on that for a while, and then you can let go again. Yeah.
I think it's really good advice. And you mentioned festivals. I saw that you did a lot of festivals, and you also have some coming up. So I saw. Just to mention some of them, there will be Viva Classical.
Oh yeah, that's not my festival. It's a concert series of a good friend of mine, baritone Sef Disse. He's from Venlo. Okay. And he's a good friend, but he's also a big inspiration because he's also a cultural entrepreneur. And 7-8 years ago, he started his own concerts, open air concerts in Venlo, and he's very successful doing it. It basically started his career. Wow. Yeah, and I'm singing his Christmas concerts with him. Yeah.
So as singers, you have really good business sense, huh?
Well, he comes from a business family, but he decided that he really wanted to be a singer. Yeah. But he approached it in a business way. And when I got to meet him, I thought, hey, this is somebody that I can really learn from. Yeah. And we had great conversations of it, but in the end, you have to do it yourself. Even if you don't, I never went to school, to business school or anything. So it's learning by doing. Yeah.
But you went to Julliard after Maastricht.
Yes. Yeah.
In New York, but they are really good at business in the States, I would imagine.
Yes, but that's not something I really learned there. I think it's something. Business way, I'm very organized. I can organize things very well, I think. And it was also when I was a singer, when people said, singers, you have to send in this or that, I was always the first one to send it in. Yeah, at Julliard, there were 2 lessons I really learned. It's one, always be the best musician you can be. Wherever it is, never settle for an okay thing. And of course, I don't always have the best concerts, but
you always try to be.
I always try to be the best that I can for everybody. And secondly, it was what I also said earlier. What can you add to your society as a musician? And that's what really inspired me to build my career in this region. Yeah. Because some people say, oh, you went to Julliard, why are you not singing everywhere in the world? Good question. Well, first of all, I don't know if that was for me.
But you did try it. You were in Concertgebouw, you were in...
Yeah, sometimes I still am. Last year I sang at the Philharmonie.
Yeah, exactly. And
I still do.
Carnegie
It's not
Hall.
that I don't... Yes, Carnegie Hall. It's not that I don't want to, but I have friends who have careers like that, and they fly over the world all the time.
Yeah.
And it also means that you don't have for me, a regular family life.
Yeah.
And I have a husband, I have 2 children. Almost every day I can take them to school, I pick them up from school,
Yeah.
I talk with them how school was, I play a game with them, we
Yeah.
have dinner together, I put them to bed, and then I go to a rehearsal or to whatever, or
Yeah.
you know, some weekends, a lot of weekends. I have a concert, my husband has a concert, they go with us or not, but in general I have, for me, a normal life,
Yeah.
which I love. So was a career like that for me? No, because deep inside of me it's not what I want.
No, and I think you make as many, or if not more, people happy in the concert you do now, because you do so many, and you also contribute to musicians having like jobs, a little student jobs.
Yeah,
And,
you know, for me, I'm really, really, really happy with my career as a singer and as a cultural entrepreneur, if you want to call it like that. But friends of mine who I studied with at Julliard, who are traveling the world, they're very happy also.
Yeah.
And I also have friends who also went to Julliard or to Maastricht, who are not in music anymore, and they're also very happy. You know,
find what makes you happy.
Yes, in the end, you're gonna die someday, so make the most of your life. And be happy, please.
So find your place
Yes.
as a musician and find something that makes you happy, because that's the whole point.
Yes.
I think that's a really, really good advice, because sometimes I feel that a lot of musicians do what they have to do and what they should do.
Think they have to do.
Yeah, but not what they really want.
Yeah.
And I also did it for a long time. Like, it took a long time before I dared to go out of the comfort zone, because I was I didn't believe that I was allowed to do that.
Yes.
But because I was like, no, I play the cello, so I have to play classical music, I cannot play jazz. But then I was like, and then I found someone who did it, and I was like, oh, he did it, I can also do it.
Yes.
So it's like just a little start point, but sometimes...
Because I think that's actually the thing that makes you unique.
Yeah, and brave. I think you have to be a little bit brave to try out, and it will always be there, the rest of it. And if everyone, like, I got a little bit tired of everyone trying to be the same, because then it means that no one has a job also, because everyone tells you that you cannot get a job as a musician. But then I'm like, yeah, of course not, if everyone is playing Haydn.
Yeah.
Because Haydn is the cello piece, like everyone has to play for auditions. We call it our life insurance. So I was like, okay, we always have to do this, Haydn. But then I was like, do I really want to play Haydn the rest of my life? And no, actually...
No, but if you want to be a musician who plays in a symphony orchestra and you have to play Haydn, then you better make sure you play it the best you can and get that job. I remember being at Julliard, I was good friends with the trombone class, because there was a Belgian guy who was a good friend of mine in it. And their teacher, he said, you have to play these excerpts from, the pieces like they always do in the auditions. That's what they did. And he said, if you're in my class, you do that. And then you will get a job. And really, they all get a job.
Yeah.
We really did. And if you want to be in an orchestra, do it, Do it for a couple of years, and you will get that job. And then later on, if you want to do something else, fine. But if that is not your dream, then don't do it.
Yeah.
It's in the end, it's really as simple as that. You have to do what makes you happy.
Do you have any practice tips, like when you practice?
My husband always says, I really don't know when you practice. And it's really true, because...
When he sleeps.
No, I'm really the worst person to ask how to practice, because...
Do you have time to practice?
No.
Or is it like, if I get to practice a little bit, I'm very happy?
I am very lucky that I can learn music really quickly, because otherwise I would not have a career. It's really true. Because honestly, if I think, today was an exception. I practiced for an hour.
Wow.
And that I can do a lot then, because I really focused on learning the music. Yeah, you should really not ask me how to practice, because I make playlists on Spotify, and I'm in the car a lot, and I listen to the playlist, and I learn the music in my head. That's a benefit of being a singer. I don't have to, feel with my fingers where the notes are. And then today I really wanted to learn some text, and then I really sit and I go back and sing it again. And then I learn a couple of songs today. But honestly, it's the first thing that I don't do. And it's so bad because every time I make a New Year's resolution, I'm gonna practice more this year. But I have children to entertain and to take care of, and I want to spend time with them. I have to be on the computer every day and answer a million emails, organize all the things that I also love to do. But in the end, I also have to learn this music. And yes, I must say the last couple of weeks I had so many different programs. I did a Schumann program. I hate music, the opera. Thank God we have rehearsal so I can memorize in rehearsal. In 3 weeks I have a complete Bernstein recital. And now I'm doing a Brecht and Brel program. It's like 4 or 5 completely different programs. And that, I must say, it was a little bit much. I'm very happy that I got it into my head. But then I really think I have to make more time to practice. My husband is much better at that. He plays the French horn and he practices every day at least an hour. And he doesn't have to practice to get an audition, but he's been in the orchestra for a long time. But he practices every day to stay on a good level.
And that's so practice when you are in school.
Yes, and also when I was at Florida Grand Opera for 2 years, I was a young artist, and my coach always said, Fenna, just try to practice. If you know in 6 months or 8 months you have to do this program, if you have time now, study it now, because it will be in your brain somewhere. And that is true. I do have that. And also when I revisit music, it comes back very quickly. But I practice more with my children than I do myself.
What do they play?
Our son, he plays the drums and percussion, and for about 2 years now. And our daughter is playing almost a year violin.
Oh,
yes, it's
nice.
very cute, but it's difficult.
Yes, I know. She should play the cello. It's what she's here.
Yes.
Not.
I believe it.
But this, so I can imagine that you mentally practice, like when you're in the car, you memorize everything. So when you actually sing it, you already know the music. It's not like I'm gonna take this score I never saw and just
No.
Mentally practicing is something that you do a lot.
Yes, a lot. Because I would die if I would be at a rehearsal and not know my music. That really doesn't happen. Because that's so unprofessional.
Waste of time for you.
For everybody involved. No, and also imagine coming to a rehearsal with a conductor and an orchestra and making a mistake. You would never be hired again. No. And
did you do a lot of auditions, like for the different opera companies?
Yeah,
do you have any audition tips more than doing the CV and the photo good?
Honestly, I haven't done it in a while, but you have to first of all look kind of nice, especially as a singer.
Don't smell. A lot of musicians smells.
Oh my God, yes. And I also I talk to my husband about this also a lot, because he teaches here at the conservatory. And
yes, a lot of students. He's really great teacher.
Sometimes now I don't have as much time anymore, but I used to go to the class, and if they would have a performance evening, I would always be like, what the hell is everybody doing? Because somehow a lot of instrumentalists think that they can stand on the stage like they don't care or something.
Too cool to care.
They walk on the stage like, I'm coming on stage, I'm taking all the water out of my instrument, I look like I don't care, I don't look at my audience, nothing. And I always say, imagine that I would do that. Come on stage as a singer and look like that, or deal like that, or be like, blowing my nose or something. You just cannot do that. So my advice to instrumentalists would be, I know that in the minds of
singers.
In the minds of instrumentalists, singers are horrible, of course, and they're totally over the top and out there, and you don't have to be like that, but maybe just
a little bit.
Like the trombone friend I just talked about. He actually said to me when we were at Julliard, Fenna, he had this end recital, and he said, can you come to my last rehearsal and just look at me like a singer? And we looked at how he walked onto the stage. When I walk onto the stage, it's maybe not an audition tip, but just in general, when I walk out on the stage, I always look at the people. I try to make everybody feel, and it's because I really mean it, it's not a show, that I'm there for them. And I'm grateful that people take the time to come.
Yeah.
So I look at them, and it's an acknowledgement of saying thank you, and that small things, and just try to feel comfortable in space. And that was something a director once said to me, a lot of times it feels like the stage and the audience. And you have to feel like it's one thing. It's not you opposite or against, it's you together with them. And the more you get that feeling of together, the easier it will get.
And then maybe you don't get so nervous also if you feel like we are friends.
Yes, definitely. Always have in your head that people want to hear you succeed. That's the big difference I feel from the conservatory. I always try to keep that feeling that I remember. As a student, you always want to do the right thing. You want to please your teachers, you want to please your coaches. But didn't you once started to play music because you were so musical? And you loved it so much? Of course, you do have to follow the advice of those teachers, or some of them. But in the end, if you again show yourself and you share your musical feelings, it cannot be wrong. I also don't believe in, if you play cello concerto, you play it the way you play it. And yes, of course, you cannot play Mozart like you play Dvorak, but...
Mozart didn't write the cello concerto.
See, singer.
Just kidding.
But
Haydn.
Haydn is not Dvorak, but in the end, there is no wrong way of playing it. And yes, when you're 25, you will be judged much more than when you're 40. But
I always had hard when people don't like artists, like they say, for example, there's always a big discussion about the cellist called Misha Maisky, and he plays Bach, and he uses a lot of vibrato, and he's quite vulgar when he plays it. And I always loved him. And I met him at the Aurora Festival in Sweden, and I really love him. I think he's awesome. And I was like, how can you hate something when it's beautiful? Maybe it's not like the way of tradition of Bach, but it's beautiful. And how can you hate something when it's beautiful? Like, isn't there room for everyone in the world?
Well, then I would say, it's not the way that I'm used to listening to Bach. And I must say, it's maybe a little bit difficult. But to say it's nothing, that's just... not right, I think. You should always respect somebody for making their choices. You say you love it, and somebody else could say, you know what, it's not my thing, but I appreciate him going for it because it's his way. And for instance, last week I premiered this program called Brecht and Brel, and I sing, but it's not with my opera voice, it's with my singing voice. So I was quite nervous to see how people would react, because it's not the Fenna they are used to. But I love this music, and probably when I was 23 I wouldn't have dared it. But now I'm like, whatever, I'm just gonna do it. And because I do believe if you love something, if you really believe in it, other people will too. And some people might say, you know what, great that she has done this, but I don't like it. Fine. Please have an opinion. You're allowed to feel something, hate it, love it, but don't say that's nothing, because it's not nothing. We made an effort, and I sometimes people forget to have respect for the time and the effort that somebody put in.
I always feel that musicians are very good at finding what they don't like.
Yes.
And sometimes I ask them, like if I have students and stuff, I always ask them, what do you see that is good? Because it's really easy to just be this guy who always criticizes everything instead of seeing the good parts, and the bad stuff you don't really want to remember. So why are you focusing so much on the bad stuff? I was saying to my students, I say you have to focus on the good stuff because that's what you want to remember and take for your own, in your own basket. It's much.
It feels like it's kind of part of our world, and it's I don't want to be part of that.
No, we want to be positive.
Yes.
And a little bit more like singers. That's a good tip. Actually, I get a lot of people ask me if I'm a singer. And I'm like, no, but thank you.
Yes.
Because I like to have red lipstick and
singers show their personality much more.
Yeah.
Because we have to also, because it makes us unique, and then people want to hire you. And instrumentalists more are part of the group and are not supposed to stand out that much. Why not?
It's good to try it out anyway.
Yes, if that's your thing.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you about some dreams. Like, do you have any dreams yet to be fulfilled? Like a dream role maybe, or a dream concert, or a dream project? Like, I know you have this dream about the research that we are looking for money for. But also...
Well, the interesting thing is, it's always when I look back, 5 years or 10 years, and if you would tell that Fenna that the next 5 years this would happen or that would happen, it was never something I could foresee. When I started to play the saxophone, I could never imagine I would have been a singer. When I was struggling as a singer in the conservatory, I would have never believed that I would be a singer at Julliard, or later sing at the opera, or whatever. The thing is, I always believed, and I still believe, that when you work hard and you really go for something in whatever way, something will work out. And I have to knock on wood, but it still always works for me like that. And now this new opera company has come on my path, which I really love. Because I always said, when I'm 50 and I can't sing anymore, I'll be the director of an opera company. And now it's kind of already happening. And yes, there are probably some roles that I would love to sing, but it's not something that I would say, if it doesn't happen, my life sucks.
No. It would be nice.
It would be nice. I would love to sing Madame Butterfly.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's so dramatic.
I think it will suit your personality.
Oh, I remember seeing the opera for the first time when I was in New York, actually. And I didn't know the story. And so I was watching it, and spoiler alert, but in the end she kills herself.
Oh my god, in opera when people die.
Yeah, but I actually thought that she was... Butterfly has a child with this American soldier, and the soldier leaves. In the end he comes back and she thinks that he's coming for her, but he's actually remarried, and I felt like, he wants to take the child with him. That was my interpretation then. And I thought she was going to kill the child. That's what I thought. And then all of a sudden this music is so dramatic and she kills herself, and it blew me away. I was crying, and later on, I sang Suzuki, because I sang as a mezzo before, and it was also a beautiful production. And I thought, this is an opera I would like to sing. But you know what? So many operas have come on my path that I could never have imagined. I think that's a little bit my bad. I could never imagine some things. But then when I look back, I'm like, my God, I've been so lucky with everything that happened. But I think that's still a little bit the insecurity, or being too critical on yourself. But we all have it, I guess.
The inner dragon.
Yes, we all have our voices sometime.
Also, because you're the fairy godmother of concerts, of course I have to ask you, if there is musicians out there who is like, how can I get concerts? Do you have any top 3 how to get a concert tip? Because I think a lot of musicians are bad at getting concerts.
But it really depends on what kind of concert.
A tip to getting gigs, maybe, and then you can get one to get into the theater. If
like chamber music concert or something
maybe
like that?
We can do that.
Yeah, I do think that is really hard.
Yeah.
Especially for young musicians, because people don't know you. You know, it's so stupid because at the conservatory there are a lot of great musicians, and then you're stuck in that phase where people tell you, oh, you know, it's a great opportunity for you to play there for a drink and a sandwich.
Yeah. I ate a lot of sandwiches in my days.
Yes. If you have a chamber program, you should have the info of that organized. I think it's a good idea to go to concerts where you would like to play. For instance, if there is a chamber festival, go to the concerts there. Just chat a little bit with people.
Yeah.
Don't tell them right away that you also have a concert.
Hello.
Just, you know, mingle a little bit.
Yeah.
And then at some point maybe it will come up that you're a musician as well. And people, in the end, a lot of people are still always looking for musicians.
Yeah.
And then don't sell yourself too short also. Don't play everywhere for nothing.
Do you have a recommendation for like a lowest price? Like in Sweden we have like a lowest price, like, but
that's so difficult.
It's very hard. Here I feel it's very hard because you have like sometimes I get asked to play in like the embassy of Sweden in Brussels or in Hague, and then they have like a different economy. And sometimes even if sometimes I ask like 100 for a concert and then people gave me 200. Yeah. So it's very hard, I think.
It is so hard because I still find it hard because you don't know what people have to spend. And of course your price, your value will change.
Yeah.
The bigger your career gets, the more you can ask. Sometimes somebody said to me, you can also say, for instance, if it's the embassy, you know what, can you make a suggestion for the fee? You tell them.
Yeah.
So maybe then they would say to you, oh, here's 500 euros. Because it's for them, it's nothing, probably. And then you would have said 100, and that's too bad. But other festivals, everybody always says they have no money. Some people do have no money, but other people say it and they do have money. Yeah.
I always try to not feel this bitter feeling in my stomach. Like if I have a bitter feeling in my stomach, then I know I was too cheap.
Yes, in the end, you have to be happy with what you make. And also ask colleagues, what are they charging at the moment?
Yeah.
What is a normal rehearsal fee? Ask professional colleagues. They will tell you. Yeah. They know what it is.
Teachers.
As a soloist, it's more difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's not only...
I also heard that singers charge more. Like, normally my singer colleagues, they charge much more than I do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, they're like, no, I'm not going to do it for less than this. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So they are maybe better at taking, like...
Yeah, you know, I still struggle with that. I actually made my fee higher last year also because somebody said to me, you're not asking enough. Yeah. But then I know for another gig, if I would ask that, they would be like, what? You know, you kind of have to get a feeling for who you're playing for.
And how much you have to put into the concert, how many hours is behind it.
And also it is true, when you're just in the conservatory, just come out, you will sometimes earn less than later on. Yeah. It's true. But also, if you charge not enough money now, it's very difficult to go to a higher price also, because it was 100 before. Yeah. Why is it 300 now? Yeah. And you still deserve it.
It's true. My business colleagues, they say, they who study business, they say, always take more, because it's better to go down than up.
Yes.
So
when I sing a concert, I have a fee, and I have calculated that I can go down a little bit. But that's what everybody does. Yeah. But we as musicians, our most vulnerable part is that we love to play. Yeah. And you would play for 100 euros. Yeah. But
it's a question of if you should, and if you are taking too cheap, you put down the other musicians as well.
Yeah, and that's very difficult. Yeah. Also because nobody really talks about it. There are actually on the internet somewhere, you can find like the basic...
I put it in our newsletter that we have here, Master in Music, last podcast, because we were also discussing it. But it's good to have some guidelines, And it's good to be able to have these guidelines and be able to send them to the employer if they complain, because sometimes people didn't want to give me a lot, and then I said, okay, but I don't want to do it then, because this is the guidelines.
Yeah.
At least you have to follow some kind of decent salary.
Yes.
And then people was like, oh, okay.
Yes,
And
that's
then,
a good one. Because if you can explain to people, I'm not explaining really every time somebody calls me,
This
I'm
is how much my
explaining,
dress
this
costs.
is what I should get, no. But if that's for you, it's a very good one to say, you know what, and also if somebody would say to me, I would say, you know what, for this fee, I'm coming to the concert, I'm coming to the rehearsal, and it doesn't matter if I'm singing 3 songs or 1 song or 5 songs, that's not what I decided. That is what you decided. Yeah. And I'm coming to the rehearsal, I'm coming to the concert, I have to drive, I have to study, I have to go to the voice lesson, I have to pay taxes. Basically, nothing is left.
In the end.
Yeah, it's not that dramatic, and sometimes you just then should say no. But that's difficult, because if you would get the €100, it would be nice.
But sometimes I feel like, if I have this, but I have this trick that I say, okay, if I say yes to this, maybe I have to say no to something else. Mm-hmm. Because if I said yes to a very bad paid concert, then maybe someone else will ask me who will give me more. Mm-hmm. So then I have to always think like, if I say yes to something, maybe I have to say no to something else.
I have also 3 things that I consider when I get asked for concert. 1, do I like this project? Yeah. For instance, somebody asked me to sing a role in an opera company. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love the opera, I want to sing it. Yeah. But then, is the payment correct or is it shit? And 3rd, are the people I'm working with nice? And 2 of those 3 questions I have to answer with yes. If 2 is no, then I shouldn't do it. So if the role is great, but the payment is bad, and the people I have to work with are not good, then I'm not going to do it. If the people are great and the role is great and maybe the payment is not so good, I can still do it. But that's always something because at one point, especially in the beginning, when you're trying to build something, you just say yes to everything. At some point, at least I got there that, I was doing stuff that, why am I doing this, And it was just being afraid that maybe nothing else will come, but sometimes you really have to say no. Yeah.
That's really good advice, really good. Thank you for the advice. I think it's gonna round up a little bit. I have some questions, like the last 3 questions, where I want you to give a tip to a person in a music school, a person in the conservatorium, and a person who is like freelancing, professional. Mm-hmm. So 3 tips for these different categories. So we can start.
The first one was?
Music school.
Oh, so before the conservatory?
Yeah, person in the music school, like around 10 years, started to play.
Oh, yes. Take your instrument or your voice at least 5 times a week. Doesn't have to be long. Just invest a little bit. Practice 5 to 10 minutes a day. It's fine. And really explore your instrument, enjoy it. But know that you have to practice some things that might not be so fun now, but it will make it so much more fun later.
Okay, so invest a little bit.
Invest, yes. Not everything can be fun all the time. No. Spoken as a true mom. Yeah.
Eat your broccoli.
Yes, definitely.
And number 2, a person in the conservatorium.
Believe in why you are there. So you do have talent and you did decide to go to music school because you really love it. Never forget that. And even if it's hard, go on and try to be really yourself and make music.
And the 3rd, postgraduate freelancer,
yes,
professional.
So one of my colleagues basically, live your life, Nobody knows what you should do or what you have to do. That's something we put in our heads. When you do this, you have to do that, or it's supposed to be like this. No, it's your life. You have to be happy in it and make choices, and sometimes a choice will lead to something you like and sometimes a choice will lead to something you don't like, it's all fine because there will be a next day and you can make new choices and just live a happy life.
Yeah, be happy.
Yes.
It's a great advice, I think. But it's very easy to forget this. Like, sounds so easy when we say it, but it's really hard to remember because life comes and everyone is pulling you to different sides
and sharing their opinion and telling you what to do.
And especially now when you have social media and you see other people doing so much stuff and people only posting when they are super happy.
Of course.
No one is posting like, oh my god, €5 left on the account, you know.
Oh my god, I was so tired today. I was sleeping on the couch and I wanted to do so much. And,
today I was faking my hand. I said I had pain in my hand so I didn't have to practice.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's true. Well, very, very big thank you to you, Fenna.
Thanks, it was great talking to you.
Yeah, it was super fun. I could continue like all the night. We have to do a 24-hour session.
Yes.
It'll be the longest podcast in the world.
Yeah, come in my pajamas.
Yeah, exactly. We have to have some refreshments.
Yes.
Maybe some posh boy can come with some like bitterballen.
Good idea for next time.
So we have if someone is volunteering.
See, good ideas come from this. Yeah.
Do you have any book tips for reading?
Oh gosh, no. You know, honestly, when I was at the conservatory, I read so many books because I thought, oh, I'm only doing music. I'm gonna get stupid. I have to read books. And I read so many books, and now I hardly read a book.
Yeah.
The last couple of years.
Children books.
Children books, yeah. I read a lot of children's books, actually. They're great.
Yeah.
We listened this summer, that's a good tip. We listened to The Brief van de Koning, The Letter from the King. It's a children's book.
Great. Do you have a good book tip? Huh? The Letter to the King.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Fenna, and I wish you all the luck. And if we want to follow you, we can always go to www.fenna
Ograjensek.com.
Yes, or we can go for www.museek for
Youngworld.nl.
And you also have a Facebook account?
Yes, on Facebook it's Fenna Ograjensek and Muziek Jong Verhoud is Stichting MJVO. There.
Okay.
You can find it as well.
And Instagram?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. Should I have Instagram?
Well, I don't know. I have it, but I'm a social media monster. But I don't know. It depends if you like to take photos.
Yeah, you know, I use Facebook basically as a PR tool.
So Facebook is the best way to
for
contact.
Me, yes. Yeah.
And maybe LinkedIn. Do you have that?
No, I had it, but I really don't see the use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of strangers in there.
I don't know what to do with it.
But it's good when you want to send a CV. I use it sometimes, just the LinkedIn profile.
Mm.
Well, thank you, and I'm gonna let you go home to your family.
Thank you. Yeah, if I'm lucky, they're all asleep.
Then you can practice.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna do some emails.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.